hello. Can I get to know the people online? I think I saw someone joined now and left.
Hello, morning.
Oh, yeah, good morning, Arafat. Uh, okay, I think there's a Mercy Grace online. I want to know those who are online so that we can continue with the training. Hello, is Mercy with us? Mercy Grace.
Mercy
Yes,
Grace, please unmute your mic. Okay. You
All
can use
right.
your camera too. Remember, we agreed to take pictures during the
yes.
class.
Sorry, please. I want to take a permission to off my camera because I'm supervising an exam in my workplace, so I'll be multitasking between the two.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, good morning and welcome to the Army International Filmmaking Workshop. My name is Time Bello. I'm going to be your facilitator this morning. And I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, content creator, I'm an actor. And I just wanted to take us through storytelling and script writing. I want this class to be as interactive as possible. So I will be asking questions, and wherever you feel you are not clear, you can draw my attention so that I can, come back and explain further. And, I'm also here to learn. If you have anything you think you want to share, I'm open to learning also. So, can I get some introduction? Arafat, tell us about you, what you do, and what are your expectations for this workshop?
My name is Arafat Oseni. I'm a final year student of the Department of Theatre and Performing Arts by University Kano. I'm a writer, I'm an entrepreneur, and right now I'm just freelancing and all. So I expect that at the end of this workshop, I'll be able to better my, theoretical um, and academic lessons I've learned in school. So I'll be able to put it into practice proper and better myself. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. We hope that we'll be able to give you the necessary tools that you need at the end of the workshop. And do we still have Mercy Grace? Tell us about you and what are your expectations?
Okay, my name is Olubodiana Oluwashi. So, I'm also known as Mercy Grace. I'm a graduate, presently studying at Cross River State, Calabar. So, I am a filmmaker, I am a unisex fashion designer, and I am a content creator. So, in this class, I first of all want to interact with other participants to learn from them and also to learn from the facilitators to learn new things, how I can improve on myself, and to be open to more opportunities. Thank you.
All right, you're most welcome. Yes, let's dive in. Storytelling. I'm sure you all know what storytelling means, or some of you must have written stories before. Arafat, have you written any story before?
Yeah, written a story before. Like I said, I'm a
Okay.
player, so I've written short plays, one act plays, and all that before. And it definitely involves writing a story, which you have to weave into scenes and movements. Yeah, so I've written
Mm.
a story.
Okay. So, what can you tell us your idea of what storytelling is? What do you think storytelling is? Of course,
So,
we have different forms of storytelling. We have the mode, and we have the oral, we have the digital, and the written form of storytelling. So, but for the purpose of this workshop, we're going to be dealing with, digital and maybe written, since we're going to be talking about script writing and all of that. So let us hear your idea about storytelling. What do you think it is? Arafat. I guess Arafat is having a bit of a network issue. Okay. Mercy Grace, are you still there? Mercy Grace, are you still there?
So
Okay, yeah, Arafat, are you back?
um,
I think your network is a bit fluctuating. Uh,
my own opinion, I
I think your network is not really strong.
Grace
Um,
Oseka is also here.
okay, your network, Arafat, your network was a bit, I don't know, is delayed. Can't really hear you. It's you know, it's delayed. Okay, do we still have Grace Oseka online?
Yes. Good morning.
Okay, all right.
yeah.
Arafat, your network is delayed. I don't know if you
So
have sorted it. Your network is not really clear right now. Can you hear me? All right, we'll come back to you, Arafat. Grace, can you introduce yourself and tell us about you and what you expect from this workshop?
Good morning. I'm Grace Oseka.
Good morning.
My expectation from this workshop is to learn more. I love to edit videos, shoot, just do short
Okay, very well then. We hope that
that's my
we'll be able to do, you know, give you guys what you need to be able to proceed in your filmmaking careers. I don't know why the network seems to be messing up, but I will move on from there. Is Messi still here?
Yes, I am here.
Okay. I was hoping that you tell us a bit about storytelling. You said you are been doing content creation and all of that. So tell us a
Yes,
bit about what you think your idea of storytelling. What do you think it is?
okay, for me, storytelling is using any tool to communicate a particular message to a particular audience. So it can be either through pictures, through videos, or through words. So that storytelling is an act. So,
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. And have you written any story before? Do you have any stories you have
yes,
written?
I've
Okay.
written a short story before and few poems.
Oh, few poems.
Yes,
Wow. Let's hope that in the course of this workshop, you're going to, read us one or two poems.
that is
All right, no problem. Yeah, so let's move on. Yeah. When you talk about storytelling, we have a lot of us have been doing storytelling, whether we know it or we don't. Sometimes we narrate our experiences to people and tell them some of the things that we've seen. Could be personal, could be something that we have heard. So storytelling is not new, and most of us have been exposed to the oral form of storytelling, which unfortunately has died down. I remember growing up where we sit under the tree, parents would tell us stories about tortoises, which was the most famous kind of story then, trying to instill, discipline and morals into us. Storytelling has been with us for ages, and it has been used to, pass down cultural values, to teach, to, educate, to entertain. So storytelling is very, very important. But in this context, what we're going to be looking at is storytelling for drama, for TV. What are the things you need? What are the elements of storytelling? You know, so I don't know who wants to try. Arafat, your network was not clear earlier. Would you like to
yeah.
tell us? Yeah, would you like to tell us some elements of storytelling?
Elements of storytelling.
Yes. What are the important elements of storytelling?
So let me just give it a try. I think we have like characters.
Okay.
We have the plot, which is essential.
Okay.
We have the conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have characters, plot, that's basically sure. That's it.
And team. You forgot team.
Team, yeah, the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the
And
team.
and also narrative arc and all of that and all of that. So we're not going to go too deep into the theoretical aspect of storytelling. We just want to do the practical. What are the things you need to write stories? How do you come about, getting your stories? I think the other class will be teaching you about story research, how to research your story, because every story you need to investigate, do your research. You don't just write stories because you want to write. You have to learn about the story, about the topic you want to write about, and all of that. The other class will go more into that aspect of storytelling. So it seems it's only Grace. I don't know. Have you written any story before? Grace Oseka.
No, I've not.
Okay, you have not. Have you? Okay, let's hope at the end of this workshop you'll be able to, from what you're going to learn, you'll be able to at least attempt to write good stories. Because the thing is, there are a lot of stories out there, but what differentiates yours is how you plot your story, your dialogue, all the ingredients of your story. That's what makes a difference. Because right now, there are no new stories. When you talk about love stories, we have seen lots and lots of love stories out there. But that doesn't mean that filmmakers will still not, or storytellers will still not tell stories about love. It's your style, it's the way you tell it, it's your approach to telling that story. As a storyteller, you can pick the Titanic as a story and retell it, and it will come out differently from your own point of view. So it depends on your creativity now. That's what determines how good you are or you're going to be as a storyteller. So how do you get your story? How do you form your story? Because one of the things you need to know about storytelling, which is the setting. One of the most important things in storytelling is the setting. This story that you want to tell, where is it going to take place? Where do you want to tell it? And the setting is about your location and the time of your story. Is it an old story? Is it a modern story? Is this story that is, told in the 70s, 80s, or a story that will be told in the 2040s and all of that? So now, when you get your setting right, it makes your job easier. Now, you want to tell a story about, okay, let's see. You want to tell a story about a city girl. Where do you set that story, Arafat? Where would you set a story of a city girl?
The modern society. That's the modern.
Give me an example of any modern society where you want to tell the story. What?
I said Lagos City.
Lagos City. Are you from Lagos or where are you from? Or where
Yeah,
are you based? Huh?
I reside in Lagos.
Oh, okay. That's why you just mentioned Lagos City. You cannot mention Abuja City. Okay. Now, so the thing is, you cannot say you want to tell a story about a city girl and you're telling the story in a village. It will not make sense. Now, these are some of the things that you need to put in place before writing your story. Now, this story that I'm trying to write, where am I planning to set it? The city. What time is the story going to be set in? Is it a modern story? Is it, is it going to be set in the 2000s or in the 80s or 70s? Because those are the things that will determine your, characters, the appearance and all of that, the language, because there are some slang. You cannot say you are setting your story in the 70s or 80s. And you are not using words like, in your dialogue, you are using words like a choke, for example, because there was nothing like a choke in the 70s. It was Davido that came with the slang, and everybody now knows he choked. So when you are telling a story in that time and you're using slangs like that, it will not make your story complete. It will not make it realistic. So those are some of the things that you need to put into your story. So I'm just taking these elements one after the other. Then we look at your plot. What do you understand by a plot? Anybody wants to try? Plot of a story. Arafat, you want to
I
try?
think what,
Okay,
let me
who is okay, try it, please.
okay, I think the plot of the story is talks about the flow of the story. Maybe yeah, a particular story can start from the beginning to the end. Another one can start from the middle to the beginning, then back to the end. Another one from the end then to the beginning. So that's the plot of the story.
Okay. Arafat, you want to say something? Arafat, are you still with us? Arafat, it seems your network is fluctuating again. Arafat, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm with. Hello.
Okay, okay, go ahead. We want to hear.
Hello,
Go
can you
on.
hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to try? Can you tell us what a plot is?
Okay, so I just want to add to what Grace has said. Plot is like a yes, I said a plot is like a sequential arrangement of events. So just like we have like the morning, afternoon, and night, we have the beginning, middle, and end of every story. So that's how like the flow, like she said, the flow of every story. So that's like the plot.
Okay, you both are correct. That's that's right. But a good plot has to have challenge. It has to have conflict, and it has to have resolution. So it's the same thing as saying a story must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you all these three major aspects must be in a good story. Because if your story is just flat, there is nothing to it, it would not make for a good viewing. People will just, after sitting, if you cannot get your audience between 5 minutes of your film, you lose them. So you must make sure that your plot, your story has a good plot, and it has good challenge, which of course that's what your character will be facing. What are the challenges your character are facing? What are the crises in their lives? Then what are the resolution, which is the last part of it. So it now depends on how you plot your story. Some people might just decide to bring the beginning, the end to the beginning. They start it from what happens at the end of the film. They now show you a bit of it, and I start going in, flowing like that. It depends on you as a writer, whatever works for you. But you have your style, and that's what will differentiate you. When people see your work, they will know that this is how this person writes. So now let's go to. I don't want to us to spend too much time on stories, because obviously a lot of you you know what story is, and how to, maybe what we are going to dwell on is how to get a good story, because everybody has got a story. I remember there was a, I think, workshop that I attended, where Lord, God rest her soul, Amaka Igwe, was saying that somebody walked up to her and told her that I has a story. I has a story. And she said to the person that it's not possible. You cannot have a story. If you don't even know your tenses, how can you have a story? So the thing is, in our society today, we have a lot of people who just come to you and tell you, I have a story. My story is this, my story is that. Everybody has got a story. Stories are not what we lack in our society, in Nigeria, in Nollywood. But writers, creative writers who can turn the stories around. Some people believe that, this story is a true life story and all of that. I want to just write it, No. There are some stories that you cannot even put out there. If you want to just pour out your story the way it sounds, a lot of people will not find it interesting. So that is where you come in as a creative writer and say, this story, this is how I want to approach it. Where even the owner of the story will look at it and like, wow, you mean this is my story? Now, the way you tell that story will determine if you are going to last or if you are a good writer or not. So that is one of the things that we're going to try to learn. Now, how do you get, okay, let's just run into conflict and, character and all of that. Character. I'm sure you understand what, characters mean in a story. Arafat, characters in a story. Oh, okay. You want to try Arafat? What about Mercy Grace? Character. What do you understand by characters? Yes.
Okay. The character of the movie or the story is they are the people that are involved in the story, people that we want to talk about. They are the owner of the story.
Okay. They're more like the living things in the story. Because character may not just be people. Characters can also be animals, can be dogs, can be goats, cow, horses in a story. So it depends on the role you're playing in the story. So that's why a better understanding will mean that characters are the living things in the story. So let's go to team. Or Arafat wants to try? I think Arafat's network is a bit unstable. Let's go to team. Mercy?
Okay.
For me,
Okay, please go ahead. Mercy, go ahead. Hello, Mercy? Okay.
me, can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, so the theme of a story is talking about the message of the story. What do we want to talk about? So that's
Okay. What about Arafat? You want to try? Huh? Arafat, your network is really. You want to try? Theme of a story. Okay. Theme of the story is the main, idea behind the story. What you really want to talk about. What the story is about. It can be love. It can be, revenge. It can be, the main issue. The story is at. Okay. That's like 24 hours ago, Arafat, your network. So the main idea about your story, that's the theme. That's what your story is about. Then conflict. How important is conflict in a story? Mercy.
for me, conflict is so important in the story because it helps you to play with the emotion of the audience, it helps you to get the attention of the audience. And conflict is very, very important, and it makes your story not to be a flat one.
Yeah, that's correct. A story without conflict is, just a flat story, and no one will be interested in it because it's just like, what's there to watch? What's interesting about it? So conflict is as important to a story as the plot, as any other element of the story. So now let's just look at let's look at how to get stories, how to form stories, because a lot of people complain about finding it hard to come up with stories. And there are three major story ideas actually, and they are, if it's either it's a quest or a love story, or what's the third one? Arafat, are you still with us? Arafat, uh, Arafat is having issues with our network. Now, so
Grace
let's
Oseka is still here.
Oh, okay, Grace, are you still
Grace,
here?
please use your video. So no, Mercy is in an exam hall. That's why she's not using her video.
Okay. All right, yeah, because I like to know that it's because I've not been seeing you. That's why I've not been calling your name, Grace. So we want to attempt to do something now, how to get a good story, how to be able to craft a story idea. Because the thing is, we can't rely on the stories we hear all the time when we want to come up with ideas of our own. Like, because as a writer, you should be able to, you are like a god with a small letter actually, and you should be able to determine what you want for your society, what kind of ideal society you want. And sometimes it is like some of these American films that we watch, it is the writers, it is their creativity. Some of the things that you see out there are not actually there. But a writer just imagine that, okay, what if America is like this? What if the police? What if this is how it is? What if there's terrorist attack in America? And how is America going to solve that problem? So it is left to you as a writer to imagine the kind of society you want. So when you craft a story and imagine it, sometimes it may be something that is not even happening in the society, but your imagination tells the society that, no, we need this thing. Now, take for example, now we've been hearing stories about, all these alien cabs like boats, like Uber and all of that. The kind of stories we've been hearing, these past few days are not palatable, kidnap and robberies and all of that. Now, as a writer, you can decide to come up and say that, write a story around it on how to prevent all those things. You can create something that prevents such actions by those, drivers. And by the time you put it out there, it's something that the society, even the companies will look at like, wow, this is good. And they start to now implement it. Those are the kind of things that you can do as a writer. You are a god. You can create and you can bring to life characters. There are some of these characters we see today that are big, some of these celebrities and, actors and actresses and all of that. They were a creation of writers. There are some actors that you don't even know their real name, like in Osofia. I'm sure a lot of people don't even remember Osofia's real name because a writer created that character. And that character was living in the writer's memory, in the writer's mind. But he or she was able to write it down, create it, and it has now become a character that every other person loves and they want to refer to. It now becomes a living character. So how do we now get to create this kind of characters? How do we write this kind of stories that would create this character? Your imagination. How do you use your imagination to get these stories? Now, first of all, one of the things that you need to know is whatever story you want to write, you need to sit down and say, if it's a love story, if it's a crime story, if it's coming from your imagination, you still have to do a bit of research. What is the crime rate in, say, Lagos, for example? What are the kind of crimes being committed in Lagos? Now, what are the challenges faced by Lagosians? So if you are writing a story and having Lagos as your setting, now your idea, your result, the result of your research about crime rates in Lagos will determine the kind of outcome your story is going to have. You may just imagine what you want to write, but your imagination is coming from your research, the research that you have done. Your research may tell you that at every 1 hour, there is like 2 to 3 robberies in Lagos. Now, in 24 hours, Lagos records like 10 to 15 car snatches and all of that. That research has given you an idea of what to write. So if you're writing about car snatches and robberies and all of that, the research you have gotten from Lagos will help your story. Then you now begin to piece your research and ideas together. Now, imagine a tree. If you were to write a story, just a standing tree, what kind of story do you think you can write around a tree? I want someone to just, give it a shot. What kind of story that would make for interesting viewing do you think you can write around a tree? That's your
Mofa, please
setting.
turn on your video. Arafat, if your network is stable now, you can turn on your video.
So who wants to give it a shot? Grace, Mercy? Who wants to give it a shot? How can you tell a story around? You are welcome, Mofa. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I am Mofa Melvis, and I am a geriatric nurse. I take care of elderly persons. Yeah.
Okay. Have you written a story before, or you want to start writing and making films?
Yes, it's true. I've been writing some short stories, and I've equally been writing poems and some quotes about elderly.
Wow. I have a lot of poets on this workshop. You guys are going to at least read 1 or 2 poems before we finish this class.
Yes. So, and that's what I've been doing. So I'm thinking of doing some short court metrage that can raise awareness about elderly care, to talk about the elderly persons, what they actually go through. So that's why I joined this platform.
Wow, that's nice. Our society actually needs something like that. I like that, and I'll be, available to work with you and see how we can, get that to light.
The pleasure will be mine.
No problem. All right, so we're talking about how to form a story. Now, I've given you guys an example. I want you to come up with a story around a tree. It's just a big tree. I want you guys to, a minute each, give us an idea of the kind of story you can form around that tree that will make for an interesting viewing using your imagination. Who wants to go first?
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I don't know if it's all right. We're talking about the tree. Perhaps I started a little bit late, but let me say the story. There was a young man who had a plant, and he planted it, and it gave him a great tree. I've forgotten that story. Okay, he supported the tree. He supported the tree to grow, and now the tree is a big and mighty tree, and this young man now is old. So the tree will be used to help him as a walking stick so that it can support him too. Okay, like that.
Nice attempt. That's good. Any other person wants to try?
Okay, let me try.
Your setting is the tree. Is that Mercy?
Yes, I want to try.
Okay, please do.
Okay, I'll start from.
Make sure, excuse me, yes. Before you go on, make sure it's the kind of story that you want to see. Not a story that by the time you say, what is this one? A story that will be interesting that you will want to see. So let's go.
Okay. So there is a old man. Mm-hmm. There's an old man who is sitting down under a very big tree, and there is another old man who has no shelter at all to sit under. So and then there is this young small boy that walk up to the 2 old men. Now the first old man that asked a tree to sit under now flashback to when he started planting a small seed that later becomes the tree that is sitting under now. While the man is telling the young boy the story, he's going to tell him about that he planted the tree the first time, the tree did not grow, he had to sow another seed. putting in more effort, and then later the tree started growing up to how big the tree is now. Then the second old man will also tell his own story, how that he tried to plant a tree, but the tree did not grow, so he gave up. So that is to tell the young boy that anything he wants to do, that he should keep going regardless of challenges ahead. One day, every seed of effort that is going to plant is going to become a big achievement for him.
Mm. Nice attempts. That's good. That's good. Who else wants to try?
Okay, let me try.
Okay.
I I will give the team as I'll make this team a love team. A young or old man sitting under the tree reminiscing about it. From the beginning, there is a little plant that he has to nurture
Mm.
and be patient, watch it grow. And times of dry season, let me say, times of problems, he has to be patient, get to water it so that it can grow. And at the long run or after years, because a tree don't just grow in one day, it takes time. So you have to be patient, careful, nurture it. If you need to put fertilizer, let me say that would be like love to it, make it grow.
Okay. That's nice. That's nice attempts. But you guys are missing. There's what I was actually expecting you guys to do. Okay. First of all, let me ask. These stories that you guys have told now about the tree, if the way you have told the stories now, if they tell you that a story like that you just told now is at the cinema, would you pay money to go and watch it?
No way.
Uh-huh. Okay. What about you, Grace Oseka? Would you pay money to go and watch such a story at the cinema? Huh?
No,
Okay. What about you, Mercy? Would you pay money to go and watch your story at the cinema?
No, sir.
Okay. Now that's to tell you that everybody has got a story, but that story that will be compelling enough for people to want to go and watch it. That's what you should be looking at. Is Arafat back with us?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. Now, do you want to give your three-story trial? Okay, let's hear yours, and before we move on.
So my story is just about, let's say we have a tree that never goes, that keeps growing, that's an immortal tree, and then everyone around the tree keeps wondering why is this tree always growing. And when everybody passes, they try to, make their own comments about the tree and all that. And then all of a sudden, one person decides to know the source behind this immortality, and then the person cuts short the tree, and that gives, like, shot of hope, because everybody wants to be immortal, everybody wants to die, and then there's this person that cuts short the tree. So that's just like a brief story.
Okay. Would you go to the cinema to watch that story? Pay money to go and watch it. Okay. So that tells you your stories need to improve. Now let me now give you an example. How about, because I had expected that you guys would this is supposed to be fictional. It's not supposed to be a true story. So I'd expected that you use your imagination and let it run wild. What about a story about a tree that talks? You go to sit behind this tree, or you're standing, and imagine a character just standing in front of this tree, and he can actually swear that he saw the tree moves. Trees don't move. Like the tree just wiggles, like, and like someone who is sad and who thinks he just want to go and sit down under the tree to just relax, and all of a sudden he feels he saw the tree moves. Now wipes his face. No, this can't be true. And he sits back, and the tree, one of the branches of the tree just comes down to tap the person on the shoulder. You can imagine the person like, who is there? And the tree all of a sudden just runs back. Nothing happens. And the tree could start singing. You can picture, like, you know, they have all this animation kind of thing where you see like a mouth or face of a tree and the tree starts singing. As am I dreaming or what? A tree singing, and the tree comes and the branches are coming like arms and want to hug the person. Imagine what the person will do. If you were that person, what would you do? If you were that person, Mofa, what would you do?
I'll definitely run away.
Now, so having a talking tree, because I'd expect that when I mentioned tree, I'd expected that you guys will use the tree itself as your main character. So, and if you are going to use the tree as your main character, you have to animate the tree. You have to make the tree come alive as your character. So you can have all of those things. If you now have a tree that talks, that people go to and it talks back to them. At first, what would the villagers do? By the time they know that there's a talking tree, everybody is scared. Nobody wants to go close to the tree. So one person is brave enough to even go to the tree and maybe try to discuss, is there a problem with the tree? And the tree gives a hug. The tree is able to give advice and tell them that tell the person that this thing that you're facing will pass. Then what will be the conflict? Can somebody come up with a conflict? Anybody wants to try?
Conflict between the villagers and the tree.
No, conflict of the story. It may not be necessarily the villager, because right now the villagers have now warmed up to the tree. It's more like a friend. It's more like something they worship. The tree has now become part of the villagers. Now, what will be the conflict that will propel the story, that would cause chaos in the story?
Someone can want to come and cut down the tree because the villagers have gone and gotten themselves more acquainted to the tree. Someone may decide to want to come and cut it.
Who can that someone be? Who has that power to come and?
The person who was brave enough to go and talk to the tree when all the villagers were scared of.
Nah, that person will not cut down the tree. The person or group of people that may want to cut down the tree is the government. Yeah, it's the government or a developer. They want to use they are trying to construct a road and the tree is standing. So what do you think the villagers will do? What would you think, as in a tree that the villagers have now come to like and worship as one of them, and you want to cut it down? What do you think will happen?
The villagers, there's going to be conflict then between the villagers and the government. And there'll be a fight.
Serious fight. So if you were to be writing this story, how would you end it?
The tree was not cut.
Was what?
The tree was not.
No, you can't change that. It's still a tree. How would you end it?
The brave tree.
You know, in storytelling, we have happy ending, we have unhappy ending, and we have tragedy. So how would you end it using any of those three?
Happy ending.
So how would it end if you are going to have a happy ending?
A happy ending, it will be that the people who wanted to build the road looked for another place to build their roads, passing and leaving the tree standing, because the tree was a great source of benefit to the villagers. So the tree was not cut and the villagers were happy.
Would you like that happy ending? Would that make the film very... Okay, I can see Arafat nodding her head. What ending would you give to it?
I think I'll give it like a sad ending.
So what would your sad ending entail?
I don't know. In reality, we don't really get what we want, like when it comes to the government. So the sad ending will be like probably the government cutting off the tree at the end of the day, and then the people become like they have like let's say an anniversary day or like a festival where they celebrate like the day the tree was cut down, and that will be like peace.
Okay. That's good. Both of you are, it just depends on the kind of storyteller that you are. I'm that kind of a storyteller. Life is not always about happy endings. You don't, that's the reality of life. You don't, people, I know they say audiences love happy ending, but that's not how life works. There are a lot of tragedies, there are a lot of things out there. And because mostly I use my stories to try to educate people, I usually don't like people to be comfortable that everything is okay, life is sweet, life is no. Let people understand that there are a lot of suffering in the world, there are a lot of things out there that if you are not careful may affect you. So I usually play with the happy, the sad ending. I do tragedy a lot and all of that. I don't think twice before I kill my characters. If I just feel like, I want you to cry. Yeah, one of my motivation was when I saw Titanic, and a lot of people say I did not cry. If that's what people are, I did not cry when I watched Titanic. So, but the thing is, it brought me close to tears. And back then, I just said to myself, and I'm going to write a story that will make people cry. And I think I have done that, a couple of my stories. And the reason why people could watch Titanic and talk more about it was because of the sad ending. If it was like happy ending, they got married and all of that, do you think he would have been, gotten the audience that he got, the acceptance? It was because he made people cry. A love story that made people cry. That was why people had to go back to it. Tell people, have you seen Titanic and all of that? You will cry, you will do that. So as a writer, do not be afraid to kill your character. I know sometimes when we write, we get too attached to our characters. We become acquainted to, you are nodding your head, Mofa. You should be able to do that. If you see, there are stories that you want to imagine. Okay, take for example the message that you're trying to about caring for elderly people. How would you want people to take that message seriously if you don't create a character that they have grown to love so much? They have become fond of, and they're like, wow, this character, you mean this man or this woman is this amazing? This person suffered all this, and became successful and got abandoned by, the family and all of that. And this person is doing great work and all of that. Now, they have now loved this person. But what do you want to achieve with that? Is that you people refuse to care for this person. This person that you are now love, that you wish is your parent, is your this and that. Now, this is what will now happen to this person. So when that happens, what your story will do to them is that if you have parents, you better care for them well, because you are going to lose them. So that is what your tragedy will do to your audience. So it is not, don't shy away from that, killing your characters and all. Create a compelling character that people get to fall in love with. A character that they can relate with. It can be an entrepreneur, a struggling character who was struggling, who trying to survive, doing business and all of that. And we love good stories. The person eventually now makes it, now has money, can now begin to live the dream. Then all of a sudden, because if we're trying to teach with our story, you cannot say because of the negligence of maybe family, maybe the society, or maybe government, this is now what happened to the person. You cannot show the person in a race of their lives, trying to survive, trying to make sure they stay alive. You know how painful people will look at it like, you mean after this person has achieved all of this person is not going to survive? If you want a story that will shake people, those are the kind of story to write. So it's not just all about happy endings. The happy endings can be comedy. Yeah, you understand. It can be comedy, and you want to make people laugh and all of that. That's different. So now, part of the assignment I'm going to give you guys is that you're going to come up with a story. It can be 500 words or maybe 200, a compelling story that we maybe flesh out. And one of the things that this will do for you, even when you are thinking about writing short or producing short films, is that whatever films that you want to produce, even if it's a feature length, what short film can do for you. Imagine you are doing a feature length film of say 2 hours, and you want to now write a short of it for like 10 minutes. You would, it's expensive to produce a feature length. So, but what you can do is, from that feature length story that you have, you can take small parts of it and do it in short film and enter for festivals. Now, there are lots of financiers out there who are looking for stories, compelling stories to finance. So when you do these stories into, short films, and it's very interesting, it catches the attention of your audience, your producers, and all of that. You can get co-production arrangement agreement with that. So you're going to come up with compelling stories. It can be the story about, the story that you want to write, Mofa. It can be your story. We're going to flesh it out together, whatever story that you come up with. Don't look at the story that, this story is too big. How do I go about it? Just write it. Let your creativity, let it flow. Don't stop it. Let the story come out. When it comes out, then we can now look at how we can flesh it out, what we can do, and all of that. I'll be available for you guys. Any one of you that want to share stories and let's work on it together, I'll be available to do that. So I think before we go into script writing, which is going to be brief, we're going to let's have 5-10 minute break. And in that